Greetings, spirit beings, greetings, supreme being. Just when I'm about to go live, they give a pain, pretty excruciating, pretty bad, in my stomach, near just about the other side of the appendix, basically on the left side. Perhaps made me forget what I wanted to say, so I've recorded something with my camera. Basically, previous broadcast and the one before that, they were interfering with that, with evidence of planned genocide. And the idea was that there are no good cops, there are only bad cops, because you cannot press charges of incitement to commit genocide, directed energy weapon torture, and cancer, cell phone radiation damages. You have to check yourself if that's true. You can use a hidden recorder to record what the police officers are saying and put it online anonymously. If they legally refuse your right to press charges in these matters. And the previous broadcast was pretty interesting. Also, when I tried to start this broadcast, the previous broadcast was not cut off, but I clicked a video and then the tab didn't open for the video. And then when I clicked on it again, I usually press open in new tab. Then it opened, but the other video was playing at the same time. And the other video had no tab, so I was unable to switch it off. So I had to end the recording again. The recording before that was cut off somehow. And they may have erased the good part of it, basically, so then they can cut it off. Well, I don't know. That they've cut off the broadcast, and they've also cut off penises of little boys in the forest they hunt, etc. Anyway, I recorded that because I got this message, interference. I tried to make this broadcast, that's this one, interference with broadcasts to hide illegal planned population reduction and directed energy weapon torture. And then I got the message, oops, there was an error creating your event, please try again later. So, and they've done things to my eyes, to burn my eyes, to make me look extremely tired. They do it in the morning. And they're also doing that to my father, to give us puffy eyes, basically, to make us unattractive, to isolate me, and to depopulate the Earth to 500 million, till 6.5 billion people. In violation of the Genocide Convention. Now they were hurting my penis a little bit. It's now exact time 12/12/22/2015. Now they're hurting my penis with the cancer harp. Oh yeah, and I was watching these videos. There are two ways to do that. You go to YouTube and then look at YouTube history, or use the history of your browser, basically, to look at what they didn't want you to see, basically. Here on YouTube you see history, you can click on that. Oh yeah, warning of Queens, Obama's and Bill Clinton's murders and pedophilia is inappropriate on YouTube. So why do you have that opinion that murders and pedophilia are inappropriate? it was this video. I opened it in a new tab. Not a new tab, appears. So then I can control the video. If there's no tab, then I can control the video.
I'm not saying that Barry's had only 3 boyfriends that have mysteriously been murdered. I only have found 3 of them. And then, and certainly Barry's had more than 3 boyfriends. He was never. I'm not saying that Barry's had only 3 boyfriends that have mysteriously been murdered. I only have found 3 of them. And then, and certainly Barry's had more than 3 boyfriends. He was never nearly that chaste. But if you want to talk about
so people think
who
that
have
Obama's real name is Barry Soetoro Davis.
Crimes,
He's
and
not
to
the real
this day, the
president.
cases are still open.
If he is, he's
I
guilty
have
of treason.
3 of Barry's boyfriend's names, if you want me to share them with you.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so one boyfriend. Now these were all attendees of that Jeremiah Wright Church in Chicago.
Yeah.
There was a formal, informal knowledge amongst the congregation that there was what they called the Down Low Club.
Down
Now,
low.
what the Down Low Club was is that were men who wanted to appear to be straight, but wanted to still have the opportunity within a somewhat protected-like environment to hook up with other men. Now, one of the boyfriends that I have the most information on, his name is Donald Young. He was murdered December 23rd, 2007, in his apartment.
So where should they warn about it? Perhaps they shouldn't warn, but do something about it. You know?
Somebody
murdered him. Now, what was I thought a little striking was that he died of multiple gunshot wounds, basically to the base of, in
Because if you harm people, torture to
so
death with
it didn't
directed
look like
energy, so
hitmen.
you're helping
You know
with
what I
the
mean? Like, you
depopulation.
can actually
You know?
survive those kinds of injuries sometimes.
They can press
Yeah,
charges with
it
directed energy.
It wasn't a high-class professional job, in other words.
It didn't appear because you
Mm-hmm.
figure if the guy survives, you're going to, after you shoot him, you want to get out of there. If the guy survives, you're not even going to know if he went living until it's too late. You give the description.
I understand.
So, okay, so now we have the second victim, Nate Spencer. Just
Nate
like it
Spencer.
sounds.
Yeah.
Nate Spencer. And then the third victim is Larry Saland. That's with a B.
But I doubt if Obama was
I
shot.
did not meet or see Barry Soetoro till about 1977. I was about late 13, 14 years old. And, during those years, during the summertime, we as neighborhood kids, we would sort of
It was
hang
Barry
out. And
Soetoro Davis, perhaps.
we all sort of,
Obama.
knew each other's business and didn't really have anything to plug into. We pretty much hung out in Waikiki and at the beach and so forth. And I knew of this individual. His name was Barry Soetoro. And he always portrayed himself as a foreign student. And that didn't mean much to me then, but, that's just what we knew about him. And he wasn't really close within my particular circle of friends. He was a little bit older than me. And he very much was within sort of the gay community, which there is a thriving, even back then, gay community in that area, particularly the Diamond Head area. And we knew Barry as just common knowledge that, girls were never anything that he was ever interested in.
I got some
And,
tea.
as a young teenager, as a young girl, I mean, it was clear to me that Barry was strictly into men.
In a blockbuster revelation, Dr. Jerome Corson with WND.com is reporting that Chicago's homosexual community claims that Barack Obama's participation in the gay bar and bathhouse scene in Chicago was so well known that many who were aware of his lifestyle were shocked when he ran for president and then finally won the White House. Kevin Dujan, who was a gossip columnist in Chicago for various blogs when Obama was living in the city as a community organizer and later as a state senator, said, "It was preposterous to the people I knew then to think that Obama was going to keep his gay lifestyle a secret. Nobody who knew Obama in the gay bar scene thought he could possibly be president." Dujan claims that he has first-hand information from 2 different sources that, quote, Obama was personally involved in the gay bar scene. Obama, Dujan said, is not heterosexual, He is not bisexual. He is homosexual. Investigative journalist Wayne Madsen, who worked with the National Security Agency from 1984 to 1988 as a Navy intelligence analyst, confirmed Dujon's claims. Quote, "It is common knowledge that in Chicago's gay community that Obama actively visited the gay bars and bathhouses in Chicago while he was an Illinois state senator."
Those who have direct knowledge of the forgery, there's a good chance that they will be murdered by other principals in this, because that's been their experience with people who have first-hand knowledge of either Obama's queerdom or his illegal activity. They seem to disappear and die.
And by the way, let me throw this out there, since you talked about people who've been murdered to protect Obama's past. First of all, I think we all know Lieutenant Corporal Harris was murdered because he knew a little bit too much about Obama's passport records. At Reverend Wright's Trinity Church, we had a young homosexual named Larry Bland who was murdered on November 17, 2007, execution style, multiple gunshot wounds. Then, a little over a month later, we have Donald Young, the choir director, murdered on December, I believe it was 23rd or 24th, 2007. His mother goes to the Globe and says, "My son was murdered because of his gay relationship with Barack Obama." And the mainstream media says and does nothing. Ask yourself how a mother of a dead choir director in Obama's church can come forward and say, "My son was murdered because of his gay relationship with Barack Obama," and not one single damn major news agency picked it up.
On November 5th, 1999, I hired the services of Five Star Limousine. Excuse me. I had hired them both for November 5th and November 6th of 1999. On November 6, 1999, I asked the limo driver, whose name I now reveal for the first time, Jagir Garamit Mutani, if he knew anyone who would like to socialize and show me Chicago. Mr. Mutani understood that I was looking for someone who knew Chicago and would enjoy socializing. Mr. Mutani said he knew someone who was a friend of his. On November 6, 1999, after picking me up at the hotel in Gurney, and this is significant, Mr. Mutani used his cell phone to make a call. That call was made to then Illinois State Senator Barack Obama to set up an introduction between myself and Senator Obama. Upon arriving at the bar and exiting the limo, Senator Obama was standing next to Mr. Mutani, and I was introduced to Senator Obama by name. Later that evening in a bar which I believe was called Alibis, and I state believe because I have failed so far to get Citigroup to provide the credit card receipts that has the actual name. I mentioned I could use a line or two to wake up. Senator Obama asked me if I was referring to Coke, and I stated I was. After stating I was, Obama stated he could purchase cocaine for me and then made a telephone call. This too is significant, from a cell phone to a presently unknown individual, during which Senator Obama arranged the cocaine purchase. Senator Obama and I then departed the bar in my limousine and proceeded to an unknown location where Senator Obama exited the limousine with $250, which was provided to him by me. Returned a short while later with an 8-ball of cocaine, which he gave to me. I did ingest a couple of lines of cocaine, and shortly thereafter, Senator Obama produced a glass-cylinder packet of crack cocaine from his pocket. Obama then smoked the crack cocaine. I performed fellatio on Senator Obama in the limousine during the time Senator Obama was smoking crack cocaine, after which I had the driver take me to my hotel, the Comfort Suites, Gurney, Illinois. The following day, November 7th, 1999, Senator Obama appeared at my hotel room, unannounced, uninvited, where we again ingested cocaine and I again performed fellatio on Senator Obama. In mid to late October 2007, I received a second call from this Mr. Young, at which time I clearly became aware that this individual was personally involved with Senator Obama rather than just an employee of his campaign. The tone of the conversation had a sexual nature. Mr. Young did not once advise me how he obtained my phone number, which by this time had now changed to a Delaware number. In late October 2007, I received a text message from the gentleman identified as Mr. Young,
Well, the Anthony
in which he
McDorsham
stated he was
Pleasure, I
intimately
think.
involved
The
in Senator
Anthony
Obama, and that Obama was discussing
Tyranny.
with him and his pastor how to publicly acknowledge Senator Obama's drug use in 1999, and that Obama wanted to be sure I had not discussed the sexual encounters or drug incidents with any media at that time. In mid to late November 2007, in another text message from Mr. Young, he advised me that Senator Obama will publicly correct his statement as to the last time he used drugs, and I did not need to concern myself with publicly disclosing it myself. The last contact I had with Mr. Young was in early December 2007, when he made it clear to me that Senator Obama had no intentions of publicly acknowledging his 1999 use of crack cocaine, and that Mr. Young was in fact doing nothing more than milking information from me for Senator Obama's use. I later learned that A. Donald Young, choir director of Reverend Wright's Trinity United Church of Christ, Obama's now former church, and who was openly homosexual, learned that he was murdered on December 23rd, 2007.
The little Barry Soetoro was being pimped by his mother in Jakarta when he was 7 or 8 years old. And that's in, 1968. He then shows up in the Lahore Hilton, which is one of the hotels where, not the Lahore Hilton, but the Hilton chain, where this guy, Robert DeDuca, was doing his pedophile blackmail. So it's highly probable that Barry Soetoro and his mother and Dunham were operating this child porn blackmail racket in the Lahore Hilton in 1981.
Under the watch of former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, diplomatic security agents in Lebanon sexually attacked guards. State Department contractors in Baghdad bought drugs from an underground drug ring, and Clinton's own security agents, while abroad, routinely solicited prostitutes, taking the call girls back to the same hotel their boss, Hillary Clinton, was staying in. One wonders whether Clinton and her so-called advisor, Huma Abedin, who never leaves her side, joined in the little parties. But this is only the beginning of the sexual escapades in Hillary Clinton's State Department. Ambassador to Belgium, Howard Gutman, routinely ditched his security detail in Brussels and solicited prostitutes, including minors. The initial suppressed Inspector General report charged Gutman with pedophilia, sex with children. When agents discovered that Howard Gutman was having sex with children, it was allowed to continue for months. Why? In a name, Barack Hussein Obama. Gutman was a high roller and contributed $500,000 to Barack Obama's re-election campaign. Was Gutman thrown in jail, ID'd as a sexual predator? Were criminal charges lodged against the State Department contractors in Iraq for drug use? Were any criminal charges brought against anyone?
I'm making it seem to have disappeared. They're usually on my cup. Little round golden magnets. So usually they make this strain of things that go wrong. Other magnets are, they've fallen off my desk. So you can use the side of the magnets pointed out by the north needle of the compass. Well, because compass needles can sometimes switch the polarity or the whatever. You can also test it with another magnet of which you know which one is the north side, basically find it out by the north needle of the compass. And this should be the healing side. According to Dr. Philpott. And I had to search a long time to get any confirming this, what is exactly the right side to use. But the bracelets I bought on eBay, magnet bracelets, were all okay. Right side being used to heal the person, basically. I particularly like these titanium bracelets. And the other bracelet, Cuban chain, is just because I like the looks of it. And it's not very magnetizable, if at all. Which I try first. Okay. Barack Obama, 3 gay murders and pedophilia on TrueTube.tv. Might be the first time I run into this. Check the channels.
You cannot access this page. Click here to log in or register. Full permissions for everyone reinstated. Uploads open now. Duplicates will be deleted.
Okay. Second video. This is
I've come to you, to be honest, about a very delicate issue.
linked in this YouTube video. Warning: Queens, Obama's, and Bill Clinton's murders and pedophilia is inappropriate on YouTube.
Sexually abused me when I was younger, when I was a child. And I'm looking for your advice, to be honest, what to do. I think it's someone you might...
Rabbi tells undercover reporter to cover up child abuse from police.
How is it being dealt with? Are you involved in it? Are you involved in it and dealing with it? Well, do you think maybe is it a good idea to speak to the police about it? No? Why? This is a very serious issue. Not the police.
So when Rabbi Padwa is asked here about going to the police, he says no, because it's Nazira. And this concept of Nazira means it's forbidden to report a fellow Jew to the non-Jewish authorities. And here Rabbi Padwa is saying that applies even when you're talking about allegations of child sex abuse.
Even if you think it may be happening to other people. Not the police. this man is not doing it to others. Under no circumstances. Now I got a question. If the
secret church directive. The man responsible for enforcing it was Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger, now Pope Benedict XVI. A secret Vatican decree which seemed to shelter the perpetrators and silence the victims of abuse. An oath of silence was part of the secret church decree called Crimen Solicitationis. The directive was written in 1962, and Catholic bishops worldwide are ordered to keep it locked away in the church safe. It instructs them on how to deal with priests who solicit sex from the confessional. But it also deals with any obscene external acts with youths of either sex, child abuse. Originally written in Latin, it imposes the strictest oath of secrecy on the child victim, the priest dealing with the allegation, and any witnesses. Breaking that oath means instant banishment from the Catholic Church, excommunication. To uncover the significance of Crimen Solicitationis, Colin goes to meet Father Tom Doyle, a canon lawyer. Once a Vatican high flyer, then he criticized the Church's handling of child abuse and was sacked.
Crimen Solicitationis is indicative of a worldwide policy of absolute secrecy and control of all cases of sexual abuse by the clergy. But what you really have here is an explicit written policy to cover up cases of child sexual abuse by the clergy, to punish those who would call attention to these crimes by churchmen. You've got a written policy that says the Vatican will control these situations, and you also have, I think, clear written evidence of the fact that all they're concerned about is containing and controlling the problem. Nowhere in any of these documents does it say anything about helping the victims. The only thing it does is say that they can impose fear on the victims and punish the victims for discussing or disclosing what had happened to them.
The man in charge of enforcing it for 20 years was Cardinal
False
Joseph
memory
Ratzinger,
syndrome.
the man made Pope last year. In 2001, he created the successor to the decree. In spirit, it was the same, overarching secrecy with a threat of excommunication. He sent a copy to every bishop in the world. But now,
Earlier there,
he
the bed
ordered that
weather
Vatican
is made with heart
must have what he calls exclusive
to keep my
competence.
windows closed,
In
to
other
isolate
words,
me completely, to be able to keep up to
allegations
500
must go
mil with the
exclusively
home
to
quarantines and get their vaccines.
It's all controlled by the Vatican, and at the top of the Vatican is the Pope. So Joseph Ratzinger was at the middle of this for most of the years that Crimen was enforced. He created the successor to Crimen, and now he's the Pope. This all says that the policy and the systematic...
So they control the NSA, they control the
Colin
beast
tracks down
computer,
Patrick Wall, a former Benedictine
their
monk,
voice of God programming.
became the Vatican approved enforcer of Crimen Solicitationis in
Their
his
voice
Minnesota
of God
diocese.
programming.
I was part of the system that was getting chewed up and being used deceptively. And it was a real dark night of the soul. Everything I had trained for, well over a decade to
So by
do,
serving God, you serve
I
the
found out
beast
that it
and
wasn't
just the
working
infant
for
eaters that
a
control
holy
the beast
institution, but
computers.
an institution that was wholly concentrated on protecting itself.
When a priest was accused of sexual abuse, the abuser was slipped quietly away and Father Patrick was moved in.
Most of the cases
Unless you
never saw the light
serve
of
a real
day.
eternal,
Yes, we
almighty
were
God or
successful.
the principle of it, where
That is really the ultimate
to create a
definition
perfect society in which we all will live happily
for the
eternally.
church when it comes to a case of sexual abuse of a minor that no one ever finds out about it, that it gets shut down, that it's kept quiet. If a payoff is needed or some kind of a settlement is needed, it's done.
We had a $7 million budget in 1996 to do such things. But the thing that we had to have was a confidentiality order where it absolutely had to be agreed that everything was quiet. And you worked with the victims as best you can, but the ultimate desire is to maintain stability, peace, and calm. And the biggest thing you have to do is absolutely shut down the scandal.
Former Oklahoma Governor Frank Keating has resigned as head of a national review board looking into the Catholic Church sex scandal after serving only 1 year in that capacity. The contentious departure followed Keating's interview with the LA Times, where he compared some church leaders to La Cosa Nostra. In his resignation letter, Keating said, quote, "To resist grand jury subpoenas to suppress the names of offending clerics, that is the model of a criminal organization. Not my church."
There's no policy to help the victims. There's absolutely no policy to help those who are trying to help the victims. And there's an unwritten policy to lie about the existence of the problem. Then as far as the perpetrators, the priests, when they're discovered, the systemic response has been not to investigate and prosecute.
So according to sources online,
to move them from one place to another.
Kevin Annett is a fake priest with a fake court. So he's used Catholic person used to prevent these infant eaters and girl rapists going to jail.
This is all over the world. You see the same pattern in practice, no matter what country you go to. The Vatican has no child protection policy. The only policy they have is to protect the perpetrators, to protect the Vatican, to cover this up, to keep it as deeply buried in secrecy as possible, and to prevent as much damage to the institution as possible. So it's damage control.
So I want to start this broadcast with that I'm very ashamed.
Ratzinger's instruction to send all allegations of child abuse to the Vatican is proving.
And I find it horrible that these people, these Satanists, are torturing everybody with directed energy, illegally modifying their brain waves, and depopulating the earth in violation of the Genocide Convention. So these Jesuits have a satanic inner core, and of course they want to pretend that they have stopped it, but in reality they still continue their cannibalism, depopulation, and torture with directed energy, I think.
Frustrating for police and social workers trying to catch and jail priests suspected of abuse. Before retiring this year, he convicted 8 paedophile priests in his diocese and uniquely forced a written confession from the local bishop, admitting that he knowingly hid child sexual abuse from the police.
I will tell you that the secrecy, the obstruction that I saw during my investigation was unparalleled in my entire career as a DA here in Phoenix, Arizona. It was so difficult to obtain any information from the church at all. In fact, we knew of certain meetings that had taken place, and yet no documentation was ever produced to be able to show that that meeting had even occurred.
The Vatican's official line is that its sex crime code is purely for internal use and not intended to hinder civil investigations.
When we started looking at it, it was really interesting. We came across in the canons for the church that there are supposed to be secret archives to where this type of material is to be provided and not given to civil authorities, no matter what the circumstances. We had information that there was an instruction for the Denuncio, who is an ambassador status, to ship all this, incriminating type of information to him, because under the law, we could not subpoena that material because he would have protected status as an ambassador from the Vatican. I think that that's really what the story is that the church's failure to acknowledge such a serious problem, but more than that, it is not a passiveness. It was an openly obstructive way of not allowing civil authorities to try to stop the abuse within the church. They fought us every step of the way.
Ratzinger and how I spoke, could tomorrow get up and say, here's the policy throughout the church, full disclosure to the civil authorities, absolute isolation and dismissal of any convicted cleric, complete openness and transparency, complete openness of all financial situations, stop all barriers to the legal process, completely cooperate with the civil authorities everywhere. You could do that.
The very week that we exposed, if you remember the announcement that came last Monday, when Joseph Ratzinger went to London, the first visit of a pope to England in history, on September 16th, 2010, he went to Holyrood Council to meet with Queen Elizabeth, and they were closeted in there for about a day or two. It turns out that from the same source, we discovered that Queen Elizabeth actually agreed to place all Anglican clergy under the Catholic policy known as Crimen Solicitatis. That basically orders Anglican priests now, along with Catholic priests, to cover up child abuse. What she just did by that was violated her coronation oath, where she swore to protect the citizens of England. She has agreed now to cover up child rape. This is like an official criminal conspiracy. And naturally, us exposing that puts them in a really dangerous position. She should, under British law now, be forced to abdicate, she and all her heirs, because she's, completely committed treason, in effect.
I don't feel like at the moment. You can see my previous videos when we're talking along. Perhaps it's because it's over a phone, perhaps certain frequencies filtered out or something. They are locked in on my brain some little bit. So that was warning of Queens, Obama's and Bill Clinton's murders and pedophilia is inappropriate on YouTube with 21 views according to the YouTube counter. And it was uploaded June 19th, 2014 to YouTube. I think usually information might be correct in a way, but I haven't tested it or I've not investigated it. So I'm thinking of what would be most important. Cop murders 6 kids and commits suicide, push their legal gun ban. Well, spreading colloidal silver flyers and ending the abuse with directed energy weapons or HAARP. So allowing people the right to press charges of directed energy weapon torture and incitement to commit genocide against herself on radiation damages. Oh yeah, I was in a search on Obama's pedophilia. Is there any people accusing him of that? Because the Jesuits are known for that. Famous even. Famous pedophiles.
/ Hillary Clinton Obama covered up ambassador's pedophilia / Obama U.S. State Department. Pedophilia cover-up. Political bill. Friend of Obama and founder of largest gay rights org. www.truthrevolt.org/. Friend-Obama-and-founder-largest-gay-rights-or. November 24th, 2014. And founder of largest gay rights org charged as pedophile. Bean contributed $500,000 to Obama's re-election campaign in 2012.
Making me cough by letting their hybrid insect crawl in my throat, making a tickling sensation to make me cough. So basically, by controlling muscle movement, I can move my head and stuff like that. And usually I'm trying to prevent them from locking in, so I'm trying to move a little bit, and so they can make people's eyes twitch and make them sound happy when they're sad, and sad when they're happy, and with synthetic telepathy, it's easy. I was going to screen share, making me feel tired. You can also hear it in my voice. Breaking down my immune system, dissolving my spine and brainstem with HAARP, which they've done to many other targeted individuals or directed energy weapon torture victims. So I think the term directed energy weapon torture victim may be better than targeted individuals. Targeted individuals. It's,
State Department
like
covered a pedophilia by ambassador.
Stalking. Stalking is supposedly the term to use. Stalking and chemtrails in all CIA's evergreen aviation with their dispersal units online, and then they're still denying the existence of their poisonous chemtrails to sterilize everybody and depopulate the earth. I think they're utterly disgusting, and above all, the murderers, pedos, and they're depopulating the earth in violation of the Genocide Convention. So people must unite against them. And not all police officers are Freemasons. That's why they replace these officers on these cases involving vaccines with live viruses instead of deactivated viruses and stuff.
Guardian Daily Podcast, Internet Pedophilia Case goes to www.theguardian.com World Operation or Pedophilia Obama, MP3 download, 2.62 megabytes. Obama appoints homosexual propagandist to education, www.westernjournalism.com. Anonymous close DC pedophile Obama, video, March 9th. Bef4eatsnews.com/Obama.flash. Anonymous-close-DC-pedophile-Obama-pig. November 5th, 2013. Obama is a piece of garbage. Even the Marxist crap Anonymous are disgusted with Obama. The media are lynching Obama now, calling him Islam is the religion of homosexuality and pedophilia. Shabbat.com featured General, December 5th, 2014. Islam is the religion of homosexuality and pedophilia. By Shabbat. Conservative media taking Obama's race bait. Obama admits to
Still ticking my throat.
Anonymous are so disgusted with Obama, Syria, IRS, Fast and Furious, NSA, Benghazi, Obamacare, the birth certificate, etc., etc. They're marching in Washington today at 9 a.m. http://millimaskmerch.org/ Locations.
Nothing about the depopulation. And treason, giving legal immunity to genocidal companies instead of bona fide pharmaceutical companies, and passing illegal laws, war crimes, etc.
Obama is a piece of garbage. Even the Marxist crap Anonymous are disgusted with Obama. The media are lynching Obama now, calling him out as a liar. Even the GOP, who have covered up Obama step by step for 5 years, acting as his most faithful shadows, are now turning out to join in Obama bashing, with Mitt Romney calling out Obama the liar. Investigative reporter Jerome Corsi revealed last week to the mainstream media that Obama is a well-known gay of the Chicago homosexual scene. /Obama/2013/11/ investigative reporter confirms Barack Obama's homosexuality 2457312 HTML. But Obama's a pedophile. He wrote a poem called Pop. It's about incest with his father. Even Anonymous can't handle this garbage. They've turned on this animal and beast Obama. This kind of bestiality is beyond even subhumans like the liberal fascists, the communist Anonymous. Smelling the amber stains in their underwear coming from each other, it's sick. Obama's disturbing poem on man-boy relationship.
So then basically the Jesuits, and Obama is one of them, are torturing me and my father to death with their hybrid insects and with the cancer herb. You can Google high MEMS, DARPA. And they've shown me with the one I caught in the UMC hospital that they control them, so I'm certain that they do control them with synthetic telepathy and wireless energy. Whether they are high MEMS or not, they can easily be controlled with synthetic telepathy, of course. The brainwave is electromagnetic, as explained in the Malig patent.
It involves a sick passage where the young boy is told by the older man to smell the amber stains in the older's underpants coming from himself. The young boy. It's absolutely disgusting. Excerpt. Pop takes another shot. Neat. Points out the same amber stain on his shorts that I've got on mine, and makes me smell the smell coming from me. The full poem. Pop. Sitting in his seat, a seat broad and broken in, sprinkled with ashes. Pop switches channels, takes another shot of Seagram's, neat, and asks what to do with me, a green young man who fails to consider the flim and flam of the world, since things have been easy for me. I stare hard at his face, a stare that deflects off his brow. I'm sure he's unaware of his dark, watery eyes that glance in different directions, and his slow, unwelcome twitches fail to pass. I listen, nod, listen, open, till I cling to his pale, beige t-shirt, yelling in his ears, that hang with heavy lobes. But he's still telling his joke, so I ask why he's so unhappy, to which he replies, but I don't care anymore, 'cause he took too damn long, and from under my seat, I pull out the mirror I've been saving. I'm laughing loud, the blood rushing from his face to mine. As he grows small, a spot in my brain, something that may be squeezed out, like a watermelon seed between two fingers. Pop takes another shot, neat, points out the same amber stain on his shorts that I've got on mine, and makes me smell the smell coming from me. He switches channels, recites an old poem he wrote before his mother died, stands, shouts, and asks for a hug as I shrink, my arms barely reaching around his thick, oily neck and his broad back. Cause I see my face, framed within Pop's black-framed glasses, and know he's laughing too. Whether Pop was Davis or Dunham, this much is certain. His relationship with young Obama, as the latter described it in the poem Pop, was creepy and disturbingly suggestive of pederasty. Yawn. Obama's pedophile buddy in the White House, by Jeff Davis. The Washington Times reports a prominent gay rights activist charged last week with sexually abusing a 15-year-old boy is a strong supporter of President Obama who has visited the White House more than a half dozen times in the past 2 years. Visitor logs show. Terrence P. Bean, 66, who raised more than $500,000 for Mr. Obama's re-election campaign in 2012. Last visited the White House on May 30th when he met with the President, First Lady Michelle Obama and political advisor David Simas. White House visitor logs show that Mr. Bean, co-founder of the Human Rights Campaign, a leading gay rights group, also has visited the White House on at least 6 other occasions since June 2012. On one visit in 2013, Mr. Bean brought along Kia Lawson, described in news reports as his ex-boyfriend, who was also charged with sexually assaulting the juvenile. Notice there has been no mention of any mistresses with Barack Obama. Either Obama is the first liberal black politician in history to hold a powerful political office and not cheat on his wife, or maybe Barry isn't interested in women. The article continues. Authorities in Oregon charged Mr. Bean and Mr. Lawson last week with 2 counts of third-degree sodomy and 1 charge of third-degree sex abuse after his indictment by Lane County Grand Jury indictment. Mr. Lawson, 25, was charged with 2 counts of third-degree sodomy and with third-degree sex abuse. The White House had no comment on whether the president still considers Mr. Bean an ally. Some observers have credited Mr. Bean for helping to sway Mr. Obama into supporting same-sex marriage 2 years ago. Seriously, folks, how many of you remember a time when homosexuals were seen as unspeakable degenerates by most people? 41 years of Jewish media control has seen homosexuality go from a recognized form of mental illness by the American Psychiatric Association to a lifestyle embraced by the current president. The most sickening thing about homosexuality is that they absolutely must throw it in the faces of normal people. The Jewish news media assists them by breathlessly reporting every evening on the progress of gay marriage as if anyone, including the homosexuals themselves, are all that eager to see that legalized. A news story about a Democrat fundraising operative who flew on Air Force One and who made trips to the White House, getting caught up in a child sex scandal should be a major news story, but this will quietly be swept under the rug. It's a wonder it got any mention at all, and don't hold your breath for any mainstream news reporter to discuss Obama's personal connection to anything gay. Friday, May 11, 2012. McConnell links Obama's Hull House same-sex pedophiles to Connection 9/11. Presidential field McConnell has linked Michelle Obama to a same-sex pedophile ring, allegedly used to pimp Hull House children and entrap Boeing directors in the production of a snuff film he calls Connection 9/11. McConnell claims that Michelle Obama, a former intellectual property lawyer at Sidley Austin, handled the marketing and IP issues associated with her same-sex partner's use of Connection in the first lit broadcast mass snuff film in human history on September 11. Prequel 1. Sidley Austin lawyers linked to pedophile entrapment center. Prequel 2. DOJ Pride's Road Authority, Fast and Furious Murders. Michelle Obama's lesbian associates. Washington, D.C. SOS Children's Pedophiles Villages. Prequel 3. Michelle Obama, SOS Children's Villages in Lockport, Illinois. Sexual Entrapment Center, Video Guard Encrypted Images, Extorted Boeing directors. Obama banned same-sex marriage. Obama allegedly deployed House pedophile pimps to entrap the late Boeing director John Shalikashvili into moving Boeing's headquarters to Chicago and giving her same-sex partners conditional access to a Strangler's Suite patent pool for the Connection 9/11 snuff film.
Perhaps it's only a bona fide article if there are missing pictures.
Obama's same-sex pedophile pimp said Hull House allegedly used federal bridge time-lapse keys to Boeing's Strangler's Suite for the Connection 9/11 snuff film. The Boeing company began research into broadband communications in the 1980s as part of its work for the U.S. government. As the Cold War ended, the company entered discussions with commercial airlines, most notably American and Delta, about how to adapt the technology to civilian use. During the late 1990s, these initiatives became known as Aviation Information and then Mobile Services. As the 1990s progressed, it became apparent that travelers were interested in gaining access to the Internet using the same satellite-enabled system. On April 27, 2000, Boeing announced it would offer high-speed connectivity to commercial aviation under a new brand, Connection by Boeing registered trademark. At the 2001 Paris Air Show, Lufthansa German Airlines agreed to become the international launch customer of Connection by Boeing. The events of September 11, 2001, caused the business unit to change its plans and delay its commercial introduction. Arrangements with U.S. carriers who had expressed interest in this service were terminated, and Connection by Boeing focused on launching its commercial business internationally. Business founded, November 1, 2000. Airborne Mobile Satellite System, AMSS, for high-speed communications 14 GHz-14.5 GHz customers, airlines and their passengers, executive jets, commercial shipping companies and Obama's snuff film producers. http://www.airliners.net/ aviation-forum/ general_aviation/ print.main ?ID = 6388832. Topic: RE Chicago no longer Boeing's world headquarters username. Flying Joy Airboy posted March 2, 2006 18:21 and 42 seconds and read 7911 times. I remember when I lived in Chicago, I was a member of the Chicago Children's Choir. We sang at an art institute in a function set up by Mayor Daley, allegedly extorted by Obama and Jared, with same-sex pedophile pimps operating with children abducted through Hull House for Boeing. Daley really wanted to win them over, and he obviously did it well. I do agree it was a stupid idea for them to move in the first place, but I'll miss the big white Boeing letters on the side of the skyscraper where their offices are. Scott. Boeing Employees Association of Gays, Lesbians, and Friends, Beagles. Beagles has been connecting people inside and outside of the Boeing company through a variety of events like their brown bag lunches and June Heritage Month celebrations. By sharing resources and enlisting the help of the other affinity groups and diversity councils within the company, it is clear that they are creating cultural change, opening minds, and securing a bright future for all of Boeing's LGBT employees. Beagles Boeing. Spoliation Inference that Bernardine Torture, Paradigms in Practice DOHRN launched a same-sex pedophile ring at Sidley Austin in 1984 to 1988 period and used Hull House children to entrap and extort Michelle Obama. Sidley Austin Diversity Mentoring. Upon entering the firm, each associate is assigned a practice group mentor. To ensure that the progress of women and diverse lawyers is closely tracked and supported, both the Diversity Committee and the Women's Committee have mentoring programs, in which one or more minority or female partners meets professionally and socially with a number of minority or female associates to provide mentoring and to teach mentoring skills so that associates can become good mentors to the next generation of pedophile associates. Members of the Diversity Committee complement the firm's associate mentoring program by acting as informal mentors to minority associates outside of their practice groups and assisting them in the development of their legal skills.
Beard is a slang term describing a person who poses as a false date or romantic partner to mislead others about the nature of a relationship and or to conceal someone's sexual orientation, analogous to a fake beard for a gay man. A male acting as a beard for a lesbian is sometimes called a merkin, which is a fake pubic hair piece employed theatrically. Watch Live, White House LGBT Conference on Safe Schools and Communities today. Hundreds of teachers, students, school administrators, law enforcement officers and officials, elected officials, and interested members of the public will join Obama administration officials in Arlington, Texas for an important conversation on ensuring safe schools and communities for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender, LGBT, people across the country. The White House LGBT Conference on Safe Schools and Communities is hosted by the White House Office of Public Engagement in partnership with the U.S. Department of Justice, U.S. Department of Education, and the University of Texas at Arlington. This event is the third in a series of White House LGBT conferences that are being held across the country to empower grassroots leaders, community organizers, advocates, and interested citizens by connecting them with federal government information, resources, and opportunities. The following portions of the conference will be live-streamed here. 9:30-9:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time opening plenary, 9:45-10:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time panel on safe communities, 10:45-11:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time panel on safe schools, noon, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time keynote remarks by White House Senior Advisor Valerie Jarrett and Attorney General Eric Holder acting for Obama as first lesbian lady. 5:30-6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time closing address by Judy Shepard, mother of the late Matthew Shepard and co-founder of the Matthew Shepard Foundation. Gautam Raghavan is the Associate Director of the Office of Public Engagement. Obama and Emanuel, members of same gay bathhouse in Chicago. President Obama and his Chief of Staff Rahm Emanuel are lifetime members of the same gay bathhouse in Uptown Chicago, according to informed sources in Chicago's gay community, as well as veteran political sources in the city. The bathhouse, Man's Country, caters to older white men and it has been in business for some 30 years and is known as one of Uptown Chicago's grand old bathhouses. WMR was told by sources who are familiar with the bathhouse that it provides one-year lifetime memberships to paying customers and that the club's computerized files and pre-computer paper files include membership information for both Obama and Emanuel. The data is as anonymized as possible for confidentiality purposes. However, sources close to Man's Country believe the U.S. Secret Service has purged the computer and filing cabinet files of the membership data on Obama and Emanuel. Members of Man's Country are also issued club identification cards. WMR learned that Obama and Emanuel possessed the ID cards, which were required for entry. Obama began frequenting Man's Country in the mid-1990s, during the time he transitioned from a lecturer at the University of Chicago Law School to his election as an Illinois state senator in 1996. Emanuel reportedly joined Man's Country after he left the Clinton White House and moved back to Chicago in 1998, joining the investment firm of Wasserstein Perella and maintaining his membership during his 2002 campaign for the U.S. 5th District House seat vacated by Rod Blagojevich, who was elected governor. Man's Country appears to be a one-stop shopping center for gay men. The club's website advertises steam rooms, fantasy rooms, bedrooms, male strippers, adult movies, and lockers. However, Man's Country was not the only location for Obama's predatory gay sex activities. The Chicago gay community is aware that Obama often made contacts with younger men at his famous pickup basketball games. It was at these pickup matches where Obama first met Emanuel and a young Democratic campaign worker and senior bank vice president named Alexei Giannoulias, currently running for Obama's old U.S. Senate seat now occupied by Roland Burris. Giannoulias successfully ran for Illinois treasurer in 2006 after being drafted for the run by Chicago's Democratic machine. Outing Jane Addams was the founder of Hull House a Lesbian? And Does It Matter? February 6, 2007 by Norris Schoenberg. Tribune staff reported the portrait hanging above a marble fireplace at the Jane Addams Hull House Museum shows a calm and self-possessed young woman in a billowing lemon chiffon dress, a soft summer sky behind her, a faraway look in her eyes. Was she a dear friend and key financial supporter of pioneering social reformer Jane Addams? Would it be more accurate to say that the woman in yellow, Chicago heiress Mary Rosette Smith, was married to Addams for more than 30 years? I long for you all the time and especially during the last 3 weeks, Addams wrote to Smith in a letter sent while Smith was in Europe, according to Alan F. Davis' biography American Heroine, The Life and Legend of Jane Addams. There is reason in the habit of married folks keeping together, Addams also wrote. What historians say they don't know is whether the partnership between Smith and Addams was sexual. As Louise W. Knight points out in her biography Citizen, Jane Addams and the Struggle for Democracy, Addams lived in an era when it was not unusual for women to set up house together in lifelong partnerships, sometimes called Boston marriages. These 19th century marriages could have a romantic element but were not considered sexual. In the absence of letters, diaries or other documents proving, conclusively, that the Addams-Smith relationship had an erotic component, one scholar says that it's time to move on to other aspects of the Addams story. The notion that we have to be this historical National Enquirer and try to ferret out all the secrets, in the interest of what? Says University of Chicago ethics professor Jean Beth Galston, author of Jane Addams and the Dream of American Democracy. She finds that was Jane Addams a lesbian? Project Very Strange and worries that speculation about Addams' love life will overshadow the known facts of her extraordinary public career, which included co-founding and leading Hull House, the groundbreaking social service and cultural center in a struggling section of Chicago, and winning the 1931 Nobel Peace Prize. Hull House closing Friday. 122-year-old charity, which just last week said it would shut in March, also to file for bankruptcy January 25, 2012 by Kate Thayer. Chicago Tribune reporter Jane Addams' Hull House Association will be out of business Friday, leaving employees and clients scrambling to fill a void the 122-year-old organization will leave. Despite announcing last week plans to close in March, board chairman Stephen Saunders said Wednesday that the organization will fold this week because it can no longer afford to stay open. He also said Hull House plans to file Friday for bankruptcy. There was just no alternative, he said. We have to close our doors or we would owe more people money. Saunders said he couldn't say how much the organization owes but estimated the debt to be in the several millions. The organization, first formed in 1889, has provided foster care, domestic violence counseling, child development programs and job training to 60,000 children, families and community groups each year. Those clients will be referred to other social service agencies, Saunders said. Ann Sheehan, spokeswoman for the Chicago Department of Family and Support Services, said her organization got word Monday that some Hull House childcare sites closed, and the rest will close Friday. The department had funded those Head Start programs. Spoliation inference Obama used same-sex partners and Hull House pedophile pimps to entrap Boeing support for Connection 9/11. Jane Addams Hull House Museum. Next screening, April 10, 2012. Brother Outsider, The Life of Beard Rustin, 2003. During his 60-year career as a black activist, organizer, and troublemaker, Bayard Rustin formulated many of the strategies that propelled the American civil rights movement. But his open homosexuality forced him to remain in the background, marking him again and again as a brother outsider. Plus themes, sexual history, activist sex copyright 2009 Jane Addams Hull House Museum UIC College of Architecture and Arts all rights reserved. Special thanks to our sponsors, Institute of Museum and Library Services National Endowment for the Humanities The Boeing Company. Presidential Field invites you to check the links and enter Michelle Obama's same-sex OODA loop to watch Boeing's connection during Chicago's NATO Summit, May 20th to 21st.
So I had to take care of stuff, and when that happens, you can always fast forward during my broadcast to a point where it's on, where you hear some audio. Alright, so I have to take care of some stuff. I could turn on the speech engine, but it might not have desirable effects for me. For that you can tune into previous broadcasts. And so I can stop this broadcast for now and tune in later when I have something to say for universal peace. Jeez, that tried to make me sound like somebody with braces, but controlling muscle movement. For universal peace.